All right, what is up, everybody? So we got a special edition here of the Touchdown Glass podcast. Um, my buddy Brandon Halsey, we were on week one, previewing the season, and here we are now. I mean, I don't know how we are here already, just one game away or two games away, however you look at it, from the Super Bowl, right? A week of playoff games before the Super Bowl in New Orleans. So. Uh, Brandon, damn good to see you, man. It's been too long, but again, it doesn't seem that long ago either.
Well, I know, and it's great to see you. And we, obviously we're texting throughout the season, and that's great. But it did go by way too fast. I mean, it felt like week one was yesterday, and here we are. And then in a few weeks we got to wait 9 months again.
Yeah, I know. But then again, it'll be here before you know it. That's what I always say. Before we get into the NFL, real quick, thoughts on the national championship game. I'm absolutely loving the fact that, about a month ago, people wanted Ryan Day fired, right? Which is just the asinine and stupid, right? I mean, that little pencil neck Paul Feinbaum is saying, like, yeah, that would be justified to fire Ryan Day. Good football coaches don't grow on trees, okay? And I just kind of love it that he just stuck it to everybody because everyone was just butthurt. Oh, you lost to the rival Michigan. Oh no, our little rivalry. The way people, college football fans are, and I get it. The rivalries are fun, but people just take things too far, and obviously things were taken too far in that game. But we won't get into that. But what are your thoughts on the national championship game and the way the college football season ended?
Yeah, I thought the playoff was fun. There was way too many blowouts for my liking. Hopefully that will get better year over year. But harkening back to what you said about Day, in the Ohio State fan base, what if they lose to Michigan again next year? Then it would be wild if those talks are still going on again, right? Because like the guy does nothing but win. Sure, he's lost to Michigan a lot. It was Harbaugh. I think this year they just had a bad game plan to play. Then, yeah, he saved the day. That team was too darn good to fail, essentially, especially when it came down to the Final Four. So good for Ohio State. I'm not the biggest Ohio State fan. They get on my nerves.
Yeah, of course.
But cool for them.
Yeah.
As far as the playoff goes, I mean, I really wish. I think we had what did we have? 2 games within less than a 2-score radius this year. So it wasn't a great first run around on this thing.
The first round was terrible, and then but the second round was interesting, right? Because all the top 4 lost, right? And there were some really good football games there. So, it's something that they're just going to have to continue to tinker with. I agree.
But let's just keep it at 12. Let's not do.
No, yeah.
Let's just. This is all we need. Let's not get to NCAA basketball.
Right. We can't be whores over everything, right? Yeah, it makes money, but you're gonna dilute it pretty quick, by adding more teams. All right, well, let's talk about some of these coaching moves. I want to get your opinion on some of the other hires before we jump into the Cowboys. Pete Carroll to the Raiders, I love it. I think it's just a good move by Vegas because they need something different, something fresh, something that's going to bring a culture change there. And Pete, you could say age all you want. This guy is like he's 44, right? He's ageless, so he's got that kind of energy. What do you think of that hire?
I loved it more than any other hire this year. The dude's got moxie. He's got charm. He literally feels like Vegas, way more than he ever felt like Seattle. He felt like USC, like in LA,
right?
But this is awesome, and I really just hope that they can get a damn quarterback there and get something going on here because look at this division now. Look at all these coaches. This is awesome.
I mean, it's stacked. It's stacked.
This is great. I love it. I don't know, man. It with the Brady thing, and I'm still shopping teams. I got a Ravens hat on backwards. I wasn't gonna throw that in front of you, but I'm still shopping teams.
Oh, it's fine. It's
I know
fine.
you.
All
I know.
good.
I know.
I
But I
gotta have
might
some.
have to just sneak in a Raiders hat here next year too.
Hey, I mean, to me, those silver and black uniforms are some of my favorites. So I couldn't hate on that. And I mean, I know you're a big fan of Vegas and all that it brings to sports and
Well, Brady.
everything.
I mean,
And
the Bra-
Brady,
the
yeah,
Brady component. I love it.
yeah. It's it's kind of nice, right? So Mark Davis kind of steps out of the way a little bit, and maybe there is hope for Raider Nation
And by
after
the
all.
way, the guy's worth a gazillion dollars. Can somebody figure out how to give him a real haircut?
Oh God. Well, he's not. Let's put it this way: he's not one of the richer owners in the NFL. I mean, he's got a lot more money than he's got enough money to get a good haircut. Let's put it that
Yeah,
way.
let's get him. Let's get him to a barber. Come on. All right.
Yeah,
Anyway, yeah.
something. Okay. All right. This hire Ben Johnson to the Bears. I really like this. I feel like the Bears finally got their guy. They never get their guy, right? They they got their guy here. I think it's obviously he was at the top of the list for a lot of teams. He could be very selective. I think he made a good choice with a good roster, a promising young quarterback, and the only thing you kind of have to worry about here is Ryan Poles, the McCaskies. It really has been very rocky with this front office and this ownership, but there's not a lot of comedy there like there is in Dallas. It's just been mismanaged. So I think it's a great hire. I put it 1A with Pete Carroll. What are your thoughts?
My favorite hire was the Aaron Glenn hire for the Jets. Just in terms of the history that he had with them way back in '94,
Yes.
for a good 7-8 years, and then now with the Ben Johnson thing, to me it's a wait and see project. I actually thought, talking about Dallas, I actually thought McCarthy was a better fit for Chicago, and I was kind of rooting for Marcus Freeman to get that Chicago gig. I know that's going off on a way big tangent there, but the Ben Johnson component to me is I'm rooting for the guy. I just feel like that roster was so stacked in Detroit that I don't know if he really had too much to do. And I think a lot of what they did in Detroit was there was so much. There were too many funny things going on with how Campbell coached. And what was that play? They did a.
That fake trip or whatever that Jared Goff act like
I
he fell
mean, they
fell
they
down or fumbled or fake fumble was it, right?
is that. I mean, is some of these prop plays, some of these trick
Yeah.
plays, is that a true reflection on Johnson or how Campbell wants to coach the game? I know we can go down the weeds on this one, and we don't need to, but I think if Ben Johnson plays it clean and really, if he can be a quarterback whisperer for Williams, then great, because they need to get a guy that's going to be focused, and that's why I thought McCarthy was going to really be the key, because he's somebody. McCarthy's now coached, Rodgers, and then Dak, and so McCarthy at least has a true track record. Where Ben Johnson, we see, a couple really good years with Goff, nothing truly to show for it. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I mean, if you look at it on the scale of Detroit's postseason success and, last year what they were able to accomplish, that is something to show in Detroit. I mean, I know it's, they can't hang a banner for it or anything, but I guess you can kind of look at it from that perspective.
You're 100% right, and I think all Chicago needs is any sense of positivity in an offensive minded
Yes.
Yeah.
definitely, definitely
So
for
I'm not,
Caleb.
again, I'm not like disagreeing with anything. I just think my favorite hire was Aaron Glenn.
Well, yeah, that's a nice story. I like back. I just want to go back to the McCarthy thing. I wouldn't have hated him going to Chicago either because you mentioned Rodgers, you mentioned Dak. What we didn't mention was
Cooper. Yep.
all the backup quarterbacks in Green Bay and Dallas
Mhm.
that he had success with. I mean, remember he got Matt Flynn paid. So
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
McCarthy, you can say what you want about his in-game management. He has his backup quarterbacks prepared to play. He's probably one of the better guys in this league to do that. So it would have been interesting. I thought that might have been a good fit. I guess he's maybe still in play for the New Orleans job. We'll see.
I think
Uh,
so. Yep.
yeah. Aaron Glenn to the Jets. So I'm really happy for Aaron Glenn. I'm a big Aaron Glenn fan, and people would say like, why is Aaron Glenn getting a job? Detroit's defense wasn't that good, but people don't realize they were pulling people off the streets, and he had these guys playing hard. I mean, he is a damn good football coach.
Mhm.
It's a shame he didn't even get a sniff with the Cowboys. He's a former Cowboy too,
Mhm.
but obviously he's known for his career with the Jets, and actually I believe his rookie year was under Pete Carroll, if
Yep.
I'm not mistaken. So
94. Yep.
that's kind of cool that Pete Carroll gets back in the NFL this year, get a coaching job, and now Aaron Glenn has his first coaching job, which I've loved Pete Carroll since the Jets. I never understood why he got fired from that gig, but I know why, because it's the Jets, and that's what they do. They
Yeah.
do Jets things. So I mean, that's my only concern with Aaron Glenn is he's got to overcome Woody Johnson and that culture of the Jets. But I'm happy for him. I'm excited for him. You're right. This is a really feel good situation.
By the way, I mean, this is kind of an offshoot. Did you watch Enigma?
I have not watched it yet, but
It's wild, and I've sort of been in and out with Rogers for a long time, based off a lot of things that have been said throughout the media,
yeah,
yada yada. Right?
right, yeah.
I really like him a lot more after watching Enigma.
Okay, well, I'll definitely have to check it out. He's a charmer. I'll give him that. He is a charmer. But what's the thing Colin Kaepernick says? Or Colin Cowherd. I'm
Howard.
sorry, Howard says I like my quarterbacks to be quarterbackial, and that's kind of like
I like my presidents to be presidential. Yep.
right, right. And then you go out and in Aaron Rodgers' case, you go out and you say something outrageous that just gets the media talking, and it kind of creates a distraction. And I think for you and I, that's kind of the frustrating thing. He can have his opinions. That's fine. We don't care. But when you're putting it out there, and he's a pot stirrer. I mean, that's what he is.
Yeah.
Whether it's in the locker room or he's on Pat McAfee show, that's what he likes to do.
They go
So
through all of that. I promise you, Mike. They go through all of it.
okay.
I think it's 3 episodes. I mean, it's really cool. Just give it a shot. The listeners, give it a shot. As much as you might not like the guy, just try it out.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'll definitely check it out. All right. Before we get to Schottenheimer, quick thoughts on Liam Cohen to the Jags.
I don't know anything about him. I have no idea.
I don't know a lot about him either. Wasn't featured like obviously the Detroit assistants. We know who Pete Carroll is, obviously. But I just watching the Buccaneers offense this year, and what they were able to do. I mean, we know Mike Evans is a stud. I think he is super underrated when we're always talking about the best receivers in the NFL. He's getting a gold jacket. There's what he's done in his career. There's no question. But I was really impressed what he was able to do with rookie running back Bucky Irving, and obviously Baker Mayfield is. Looks like they have a franchise quarterback in him, and I mean he was just really that tier below the top guys, right? He's just in the top of that second tier, in my opinion, Baker Mayfield, because we're probably throwing Jaden Daniels now in that top tier. So
I'm already putting, yeah, we'll get to that, but I'm already putting Jaden in like top 7. But
Right. He's in that he's going to be there with Mahomes and
Yeah,
Burrow and
yeah.
all of them, Allen, Jackson. But I said Allen Jackson. Haha.
Chattahoochee.
Yeah. How did it hooch coo? All right. Yeah, but I think I would put Baker just right below, right? It's just something a little something missing, but that offense I thought um
Without
real
without looking at the raw stats, I mean, I haven't looked at it in a couple of weeks, but that offense was humming. I will not forgive that team this year on that play that they really were going for it when Godwin got injured. I thought, they had to score two possessions within less than 54 seconds or something. I
yeah.
thought that was kind of crazy. And Godwin gets injured. Now they're well, we saw the with Godwin going down, we saw the other guy, McMillan, or what was his name that had kind of an emergence.
Yeah, McMillan, yeah.
Yeah. So
It's
I mean
Jaden
that's
or
cool.
Jalen, yeah.
Yeah, we saw a cool emergence from some guy we never would have thought we would have seen, but still, and this is me just being kind of a selfish prick when it comes to fantasy. I was humming. I was 7-0, baby. I was
Yeah.
7-0. I know we haven't talked all year. I was 7-0. I finished I finished 8-6.
Yikes. Yeah, and he was having a hell of a year, but it's just one of those things. You don't really pull your guys in that situation, and you
No.
only have so many roster spots.
Yeah.
It just doesn't usually. You usually have to be being blown out early in the fourth. Then guys start coming out. It's just I know Todd Bowles I think took a lot of heat, and I thought he got
He was sick. He was sick. Baker was sick. They were both like distraught, like teary eyed. I get it, but most times, unless you're like the 13-second game happens once in a million years,
uh,
and we only have less than 100 years to draw off of that kind of historical
uh,
relevance. So,
uh,
to come back 10 points within 50 something seconds is still very, very rare. So that's all I'm
it,
saying.
all right. Well, we'll move on since that was the middle of the regular season. Let's just talk about uh, Schottenheimer and Dallas. And I want to make it clear, I'm rooting for Brian Schottenheimer. I was a big fan of his father, Marty, and this guy's been in the NFL nearly 3 decades. I mean, he's put in the work, whether you think it's good enough or not. I mean, this guy has moved his family a bunch of times. I'm happy for him individually. I have nothing against him, and I told Cowboy fans we do not need to give this guy the Barry Switzer treatment. He
Mm-hmm.
did not hire himself. Okay, so I want to make that clear. The problem that we have is he wouldn't have been hired this year by any team. No team would have shown interest, and this is just with really good candidates out there. This is just a huge disappointing head scratch, and it's just it's looking like even darker days are ahead.
So what was your go-to?
Like, why did this happen?
No, what was your go-to in terms of your first two or three options?
Okay, I mean, I knew Ben Johnson wasn't going to happen. I knew that wasn't going to happen. um i I would have been fine with Pete Carroll. You know me, I loved the Dion idea. I just thought it could work, and I thought it could work with Jerry, right? Because Dion, he can schmooze you, and he can make Jerry feel special.
Mhm.
Jerry, go sit over there. I got you. I got you. And he's gonna do things. Dion's always done things his way. He came into NFL and said, you know what? I'm unapologetically black. I'm going to showboat. I'm going to have fun. And if you want to do something about it, stop me. And it drove people nuts,
Mhm.
right? And I absolutely loved it. I think our generation loved it. You know, the the men that the age that raised us, the kind of like the boomers, they could not stand it, right? This
Oh,
was
they
not.
they hated him high stepping into the end zone after a pick six.
They're still on the internet
Yeah.
arguing that he's not the greatest corner of all time because he didn't tackle. Look, he made business decisions early in his career when he's playing baseball, okay? But wipe the crumbs off your shirt. This guy was going to play football and then flying back to play baseball. I mean, we could go on how insane of a unicorn Dion is, and just the guys revere him. I mean, obviously his reputation precedes himself. Kids that never watched him play, it's like Jordan. They know who he is. They know the legend. And I think, obviously him being a former player in Dallas that won a ring, um, and with his credentials, I thought, you know what, it was worth a roll of the dice. But here's a problem: the Joneses, for whatever reason, they're cheap when it comes to their coaches, and I think it's just a power thing with Jerry and Steven.
I
It
mean,
really is.
you're as plugged in as anybody, and I think that there's been a lot of stuff out there that Jerry was on the Dion side, and that
I've heard those rumors.
the kids were on the Schottenheimer side, but then it kind of flipped. Then over the course of like literally 2 or 3 days, it flipped and said that now Jerry wanted it his way, and that he was going to be the one that was going to do the Schottenheimer thing because he wanted to bring it within. So now Clarence Hill, great, all-time
Great.
reporter,
Yes.
he was the one that dropped that knowledge when I texted you the other day
Right.
about the. I
Yeah.
just don't. I don't think we'll ever get a true synopsis of this, and I don't know that Jerry cares if anybody really knows what's going on in house, and that's why I sort of have been giving up on them for quite a while. And this goes back to the whole Derrick Henry thing last year. This goes back
Yeah.
to taking time to pay people. The draft situation last year
The
was
Mingo trade this year, the Trey Lance trade.
yeah,
If you build your team through the draft, why are you just trading away fourth round picks like
I,
hotcakes?
I just don't.
That's a starter for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you stockpile? Like, people would say something like, trade Micah Parsons. Oh, you can't trade Micah Parsons, and I'm not saying you do it, but if you strategically build your team through the draft, it's important. You would remember Belichick in New England. He would stockpile these picks, right?
This
And
is
so,
this is going to come up in just a second, but I'm going to say it now. There's a reason why Philadelphia has always been relevant since Howie Roseman has been around, because Howie Roseman gets it.
right,
And
and he's not even the best evaluator of talent.
I know, like they
What
just
he does is he just will stockpile the draft picks, so his margin for failure is limited.
yeah.
It's genius.
He doesn't
That
care if he goes out. He'll go after 5 Bama, 5 Georgia guys, 5 LSU guys, and if 4 out of 5 work, if 2 out of 5 work, cool, great.
and they cut bait quick. Philadelphia. It doesn't work. They move on. They make a decision. They live with it. Yeah, we could. Uh, the Eagles. There's a lot to not like with Nick Sirianni and their fan base, and that's not a knock on all the Eagles fans. We're
No,
talking
of
about it.
course.
We're talking. You know who we're talking about. But yeah, the way Mr. Lurie and Howie Roseman work together. I mean, it's just like beautiful music. It really is. Here's my theory, though, why these things are happening in Dallas. I think this is just kind of Jerry saying "f you" to everybody in a way. I think we know that winning, when he loved to win, of course, but he wants to win his way. We know that, and I think this is, you know what? So what? I'm making money hand over fist. I'm going to grab the headlines. I'm going to grab the attention. This is my league. He really believes that this is his league,
He does.
and in some ways, he's partially earned kind of thinking that the way he's what he's done for the league as far as making it money. Um, but I think this is kind of like, the fans are complaining, the media's making me out to be a pariah. So what? I'm just going to do it my way, keep doing it, and screw you. I'm playing with my toy that I paid for, and I'm going to and I'm going to hire a coach that I can coach because he uses that Al Davis philosophy that you are coaching the coach.
Mhm.
Um, you know, so yeah, that's just kind of my theory on it.
The, the the best things that Jerry has done in the past, let's just say 25 years, has he was the guy that said, we need a team in Los Angeles. Let's get rid of St. Louis. Let's take him to Los Angeles. Him and Kroenke, cool, great, worked out. We need a team in Vegas, right? Let's go to Vegas. He's very influential in that matter. The other thing that he's done in the last 25 years was a 5-minute segment on that show Landman, which was absolutely freaking beautiful. It was absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
I could not believe it. I've been a fan of this show. All of a sudden I hear a voice and it sounds like Jerry. And then the camera pans to Jerry. Wow. If we can give a cameo, like a Golden Globes cameo appearance for 5 minutes, Jerry's going to get it.
Oh,
This is
and
what Jerry does. Jerry loves being Jerry. Jerry loves being any kind of attention you can get. And you're right. I think a lot of us fans are right. He wants to win himself and money for Jerry and the company that is the Cowboys. And if he was serious about winning championships, we would have seen it a long, long time ago, buddy.
right, they have all the resources. They have, you know, it's Dallas. You know, we could go on and on. And by the way, Jerry, yeah, I saw the Landman cameo. He crushed it, but he crushes everything he's in.
Mhm.
I mean, he's got a nice little filmography. I mean, he's been in episodes of Dallas.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah, right. Yeah.
he was on Arliss.
Yeah.
Remember that show?
Yeah.
Jerry, maybe he was in Jerry Maguire. I can't remember. But he's
Troy was in Jerry Maguire.
I know Troy was. He also has been great in commercials, right? I mean, I posted on my Facebook the Nike Dion commercial from the mid '90s
Mhm.
that he was in. They played the Dallas theme, and he was kind of like playing the JR role.
That's
And
right.
I mean, he crushed it.
Yeah.
So, he is. You got to give him this. There's nobody else like that guy in the world. There really isn't. But
And Mike, I will come back when he passes. And I know that sounds really ugly. And
I think a lot of people do, but I wouldn't get your hopes up. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of Stephen Jones either. I mean, we got a cat boy tool bag that, every freaking time, and I get it to a degree, right? Anytime there's a free agent out there, oh, the Cowboys should get them. But, um, you know, when there's a legit thing like a Derrick Henry or,
they
I
actually
mean,
haven't. You're right.
or
They haven't.
or like Bobby Wagner all those years would have been, bringing him in. God, to Dan Quinn's system. Look, they do it in Washington. It works. So there was opportunity for that, and every time, Steven, the same damn thing. We'll certainly do our due diligence, but we like the guys we have every time. So is it gonna? I would love to see like Charlotte take over the team. A Stanford grad. She's kind of her own woman. I feel like I think she could run that team
I think
better than
about,
anyone else in the Jones family.
and I always think about any given Sunday when I think about her running it.
I mean,
Not that she's like Cameron Diaz, right? But what a
hey,
wild world that would be.
I would just love that. But I mean, yeah, the Jerry thing. I've even said it's time to die or retire. We're not wishing death on him.
No, of
Not
course.
at all. We'd never wish death on anybody. But it's got to the point where it's sad. We stood up for Jerry for years, and now I mean it really is Al Davis all over again and Dan Snyder all over again. It's
But
just
it's
hard.
not Dan. But it's not Dan Snyder
It's
because
not Dan Snyder with maybe the paranoid, toxic stuff.
yeah,
It's We're
right.
talking
Yeah.
about the way the football team is
But I do
being run.
believe, I really do believe, sometimes you do lose some mental components. He is 82. He's older than Biden, and they told Biden to get the hell out, essentially. So he is 82. He is not of the mind to run this program, run this enterprise like he was 10 years ago, five. So it does catch up. That's where I'm at right now with this whole.
That's a good point, because if we do remember about 10 years ago, let's go back to like 2014, that last like really great Romo
Yep.
season,
Mhm.
where they really put a good team together. Maybe their best team
I think
of
so.
the 21st century. And they were drafting well, they were making smart moves. And they refueled that. They had a drop off with injury obviously in 2015, but then
Mhm.
kind of like restocked the pantry in the draft, and were able to make a run in 2016 that was very impressive or with a rookie Dak Prescott.
Mhm.
So you're right. There has been a big drop off since then of how this team has been run.
Mhm. So I'm always there. There, I told you, buddy, I've texted you and I've told you they're always going to be my ex girlfriend at this point. Always gonna root for her, and always gonna love her. It's a waiting process for me, man. I just can't. I
Yeah.
just cannot bitch about it every single day like I used to. It's just I don't have. I'm about to be 40. We're both about to be 42. We
Yeah.
don't have this much energy anymore.
I guess for me, I can never do it. I'm always going to be there. And really, I think today is an appropriate day to talk about that, because today is the 3-year anniversary of my Uncle George's passing, who was a diehard Cowboy fan since 1966, when, living in Virginia, which was Redskin country, and he was into westerns as a kid, saw a team called the Cowboys, and that was his team. And so, yeah, obviously my dad followed in his older brother's footsteps. It got passed on to me, and the last thing I did with my uncle about a month before he died was go to a Cowboys game in DC with him.
Love it. Yep.
And so, I mean, he wore number 74 in high school. That's because of Bob Lilly. So, I'm there still rooting for him. I know he would just be going nuts over this, how things are going. But that's I could never not walk away. Now I have my 9-year-old son say, "Dad, why do we like the Cowboys?" And I'm just like, "Yeah, I know." He's frustrated too. I mean, he kind of saw some playoff games, was getting excited. He's got a CeeDee Lamb jersey. He's got Jake Ferguson shirts, and it's just like he's just kind of like, "What is going on?" I can't really explain it to him. Uh,
We can't explain it to adults. No,
like,
so,
we can't. Yeah, let's get to the point where we can't explain it to ourselves.
yeah, right. So,
you know.
what
Uh,
are we talking about tomorrow, man? What do we think?
so let's start with the NFC. I'm slightly leaning Philadelphia because of Saquon Barkley. I think they're going to go run heavy. Deron Payne's out. Not that he's a world beater all the time. Uh, and Saquon did run all over them in that first quarter of the last game they played, but obviously they were able to contain him after that. Um, I just think that might be the difference in the game. However, if you give Jaden Daniels a window, I mean, he's gonna just a little crack in that window. He's gonna open it up. And this guy is a big time, big stage player. And if we remember the Dallas Washington game in Week 18, he didn't play well, and I know they pulled him because he wasn't. They didn't want him to get hurt, but Mariota came in and it looked like a better offense. But I said, you know what? You don't have to worry about it. He's a big game player. He's going to be fine in the playoffs. And look at this. Look where we are right now. Is it the best rookie season ever? I'm not ready to declare that yet. But if he wins this game, it it slams shut. It is the best rookie quarterback season ever. And even if he doesn't, it might be. I'd have to just kind of revisit it. It's really easy to be prisoner of the moment, and we forget some of
Right.
the great rookie seasons quarterbacks have had, and you can't necessarily say it's just because they advanced this far. Um, but if he gets in the Super Bowl, a rookie quarterback that's never been done before with a team like Washington, uh, who hasn't had anywhere near this success in about 35 years, then there is no argument.
We have a lot of friends, Mike, that are ride or die Washington forever
Yep.
since we've known each other, right? I would say 90% of our friends are Washington,
Or at
right?
least from the Radford area. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So in terms of just what they've been through and just our little small scope of what we've seen over the years, right? In terms of when you think about, is this the best rookie season? In terms of hope, yes. This guy has brought a level of hope. The whole administration that has come in after post Dan Snyder has brought a level of hope. I don't know if that hope could have existed without the play of Daniels.
Oh, I
He is now like one of my favorite five players in the league. I God, there was a time when there was no way I could have ever rooted for a Washington team. I would have just hated them just to hate them because of Dallas. But I'm rooting for these guys heavy tomorrow. I do think Philly wins. I do think Philly will somehow pull this. But here's another thing about this: they have played each other twice. They split this year. Washington just won in Detroit, and I think Detroit was probably louder last week than Philly will be tomorrow.
well, you might be right because especially with them being inside.
Yes, and
But I've been to Philly now. I haven't been to the Lynx. I've been to the Vet. It does get they it gets piercing loud even for outside.
I think it's
So
going to be ferocious. I think it's going to be loud, but with what I've seen with Daniels now, to get through Tampa's not easy. Like Philly lost to Tampa last year in Tampa, and then
they lost this year too.
yeah, and then to go to Detroit. There's sometimes maybe I'm drawing in too much of this, but sometimes there's just a magical season. This feels like just a destiny magical season, and I really believe. I think they're going to somehow contain. We don't know about Hertz's, how mobile he's going to be, and there's a way that they can really pull this thing out tomorrow.
Oh, I know. I no doubt. I mean, I would take Washington with the 6 points.
Mhm.
No question. I think this is a field goal uh, game. I look at the playmakers in Philly. I look at Saquon and we can talk for days about Jane Daniels' magical season, but Saquon's is right there too. I mean, it's a shame they did not let him have the opportunity to break Eric Dickerson's record.
Yeah.
And I understand if they win the Super Bowl, say, well, I think it'll all be kosher. But
Now,
yeah,
there is one thing I want to just kind of touch on real quick. It's going to take 2 seconds. If you get on teamrankings.com, there's this great thing to look at called luck factor. Okay. I think that I've been saying this for a long time all year until I actually looked it up, that I thought the Chiefs were the luckiest team all year. Well, then I get on this site and see it that the Chiefs are number one luck factor. Guess who was number two?
Philadelphia.
Minnesota was number two. They're out.
Okay.
Number three was Philly. Number four was Washington. So we got three of the top four teams on this luck factor. Now, luck factor means a lot of things. You know that. Luck factor can mean how a ball, a fumble goes. It can mean how a double doink goes off. It can mean how a ref turns a call around. So there's a lot of different factors to it. But there is a luck factor with three of these four teams that are left in the playoffs. I think Buffalo is 6 or 7. So, and the margins are so slim, right, Mike? The margins are like 1.2, 1.3. However, there is no luck factor when you get a guy that has so many fourth quarter clutch moments as a rookie. I just that's where I'm really leaning this Washington thing to in terms of like betting, purely going money line here, because I really think they can beat them outright. This is luck factor, but it's also a destiny factor. There is also a factor involved called maybe he's just better than Hurts, and if they can just shut down Saquon and limit him to under 125, I think this is a winnable game.
Absolutely. And look, turnovers too last week were huge. Obviously, there were no turnovers in Houston and Kansas City, but Washington won the turnover battle in Detroit, 5-0. Philly won the turnover battle against the Rams, 2-0, and the Bills won the turnover battle against the Ravens, 3-0. So protecting the football, I mean, as always, but especially, in these playoffs is paramount. It really is. All right, so let's get to that other game. And real quick, the luck factor, I'm glad you brought that up. And you brought up that, a lot of these teams that are in that top luck factor are here in championship weekend. You know what? Sometimes you're that good, you create your own luck.
Correct.
And I think that's kind of what we're seeing with these teams and why their luck factor would be the way that is. So, Buffalo and Kansas City, first off, before we get into this, I'm kind of sick of the ref narrative with the Chiefs. I'm getting tired of it. Now, do they get some calls? Yes, they do. I'm not going to get that. But it's not everything's not the refs fixed it, and some of these calls are actually legit. The hit, and I get why people are mad. It was a wrong call, and the NFL needs something where a game-changing play like anything like 15 yards or a pass interference should be able to be reviewed. Something that can change the game. Should be New York should be able to overrule on those things because they do it on other things, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you were watching that in real time, you could see where the ref would make that mistake, right? Where 300-pound guys are flying at Patrick Mahomes, and I mean their heads collide, and it just kind of it just is barely over Patrick Mahomes. If it goes a little lower, it would have been a legit penalty. So, they need a review in place, but I could see in real time why you could call that.
That was the only incorrect call. The call where where he just gets nailed, that was a correct call. The only thing I believe that people are getting concerned about is the sort of pussyfooting out of bounds kind of thing. And I don't like the way they're, because I can see why he's doing that. He's finding a loophole, just like any great player finds a loophole. Whether it's Michael Jordan, LeBron James, there's always a way for somebody to get around something. So The NFL will figure this out next year. They're not going to let this keep going because you cannot go full throttle and then all of a sudden slow down right before you're about to go out of bounds and then get hit and then get it 15 yards. Now,
Yeah.
that didn't happen last week. However, Lamar Jackson was already a foot and a half out of bounds and he gets hammered and there was no flag. I'm not saying that would have turned anything, but I'm saying we have to be consistent with the rules that are given.
No, absolutely. No, 100%. Because otherwise, Goodell can go over all he wants with the integrity of the game and players gambling, but if you don't, clean up some of these calls, then your integrity argument is total bullshit. If
Mm-hmm.
they're not consistent. So, um, okay, well let's get to this matchup. I'm really excited about this one, and I think Josh Allen really has a shot.
God, I want it.
Let's make Josh Allen. Get this guy his ring, and now we do have the modern day uh, Brady and Manning,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but it's not going to be that if Patty Mahomes is holding up trophy number 3, which hey would or trophy number 4, but 3 in a row,
Three in a row.
which would be cool because we've never seen that before, and I think this might be the Andy Reid is squeezing blood out of a stone here, and this thing is running on fumes. This would be the last year, um, with this core group. I feel like to do it. Not saying they can't reload with Patrick Mahomes. You definitely can, but I think this group definitely is
Oh,
definitely going to be.
they can reload because
Yeah,
of the likes of Worthy. Um, you know, that guy really came on at the end of the
they
season.
get Rice back.
Yeah, you get right, but you're eventually going to lose Kelsey.
Right,
They're just going to have to find another. And this Noah guy, I mean Gray, I mean, why not? Why not
right.
just say he could be the successor of Kelsey? So there's something to. I don't like that people hate a dynasty because I was a big fan of. I became a fan in lieu of everybody else despising the Patriots. I kept rooting for the Patriots, and I'm always going to root for the Chiefs because we don't get this often. We don't get greatness like this often.
You what's the saying? You either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become a
Mm-hmm.
villain.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I even remember in the Cowboys days with that first super, and obviously people, um, you know, we know a lot of people don't like the Cowboys, but that first Super Bowl they won in the '90s, they were all the rage, all loved, like Aikman, Emmett,
Yeah.
Irvin, Jimmy Johnson, all these guys, Moose. They're so great, Novacek. They were so loved after that first one. And then what happened? They go back to the Super Bowl the next season and play the team that they played before Buffalo. So
Yeah.
everybody just hated everything about that, right? Um, and I remember, like, I'll never forget when there was the opportunity for the Cowboys to win 3 in a row. I never seen so many people root for the 49ers that hard.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And I know we're going back 30 plus years. I guess or exactly 30 years because that
Exactly. Yeah.
championship game was played in January '95. Um,
It
yeah,
happened with the Bulls
yep,
on the second three-peat. It happened with the Lakers
yep.
after Lakers won their first one or two. Then people were just against them. So we love the success story of somebody, and we love to build them up. But then when they get too good, we like to just say, "Nah, we don't want this
We
anymore."
want something new and something fresh,
Yep.
right? Right.
It could happen with the Bills. The Bills are built to be this damn good for a long time. It could happen with the Bills where nobody wants the Bills to win. Nobody wants the Bills to win a Super Bowl more than you and I. We grew up in the like we
It was
saw
a heartbreak. And
yeah.
this fan base is
Their
incredible.
fan
They're
base is
incredible. They're
so
my favorite.
lovable.
They are my favorite fan base in the NFL. I love they're donating to opposing players'
Yep,
charities.
yep,
I mean,
yep,
who else does that? It's they're the type of fans that are I know they do some crazy stuff and jump through tables on fire and all that.
yep.
Think what you want of that, but they're the type of guy you could be wearing the opposing team's jersey, and they're going to help you put your car out of a ditch. I mean,
They're so
that's
lovable. They're so
yeah,
lovable. What if they won two in a row? All of a sudden, who knows how that narrative would switch? That's how we are.
and
It's
it's
sad.
the same of that with Kansas City is Kansas City's a small market team. They
Mhm.
didn't win a championship for 50 years, right? They're one of the last regional. I feel like it's even though they kind of are have exploded to a big brand because of the Patrick Mahomes and Kelsey Swift and Andy Reid and all that. It's still a regional fan base. It's still a small market fan base. They haven't lost that, right? It's one of the greatest tailgates in the NFL. Um, so that's kind of like, those are the type of teams that most people, when you're just rooting for a good story, would root for. Um, but again, it just goes back to that. I'm saying they've lived long enough to see them become the villain, and people want something new and something fresh. And then, yeah, Josh Allen does the same thing, and they're going to be tired of that too.
So, what do you want to see?
But honestly, I would love to see a rematch of Super Bowl 26 with Washington and Buffalo.
Uh-huh.
I think that would just be, um, you know, not necessarily. Now I'm kind of going against that argument because we'd see something almost fresh, right? Because we had Kansas City and Philadelphia
A
a
couple
couple of
years
years
ago.
ago. But I just think it's not has nothing to do with that. It's just a story, right? And look, three in a row for the Chiefs would be a good story. Saquon Barkley winning a Super Bowl after the Giants said sayonara, basically test the waters. And if you can't find anything, come back here. That would be a good story. As much as we don't like the Eagles, but let's look at this like they just wear blank uniforms. That would be a really good
Fair
story.
enough.
But
Yeah, yeah.
but but I think just a rookie quarterback, Josh Allen, who's I think we probably agree is going to be the MVP. Um, I think that would just
Well, by the way, like Lamar got first team.
okay. So
So, I mean, what does that mean? Lamar gets first team, and Allen. Usually, it's gonna if you're first team, you're probably gonna get MVP.
well, yeah, because they're the same guys that have votes. I just thought that Allen won that MVP that game where he beat Kansas City. I thought, okay, it's because and if I had a vote, it would have been Josh Allen because not that Lamar wasn't amazing, but I think you add the Derrick Henry component, and I love James Cook, but he's not Derrick Henry.
No,
All right,
yeah,
and when you have a Derrick Henry in the backfield, that allows Lamar to freelance and do these amazing things. And credit to Lamar because he is hitting the passes and he is making the runs and all that. That's not a knock on Lamar. It's just Josh Allen sometimes. We always say the Bills get themselves into too much trouble when Josh Allen does too much, and that really even when he did have to do too much, it didn't seem
he's
to
come so
hinder him.
far though.
Right. He's protecting the football more. He's spreading the ball around. I mean, who? I mean, look at the receiving core they have. It's not that it's they're not world beaters.
I mean, you want to I mean, cool, like Shakir Coleman.
Yeah, they're good players. They're solid good
I mean,
players, but they're
our guy Cooper has essentially disappeared.
well, we know how that's that's kind of what he does. But yeah, he spreads the ball around, and uh, I just think it's time for him to get to a bigger stage, right?
We all
And
want this, right? We all want that
okay,
guy to me, it was last week. It was whether it was going to be Allen or Lamar. Like, I want one of those two to get one because their careers are so great. Let's just see it happen.
Yeah.
And Mahomes will probably get another one, whether it's not, let's just have another one. And obviously, I mean, Hurts has had a pretty nice little cute career, but I don't want to ever see him get one but um, I just, we've now had Burrow, Lamar, and Allen right there on the precipice of achieving this greatness and getting that ring, and we haven't seen it yet.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we got to see Stafford, which is cool. I
Yeah.
don't want to take away from that, especially after him fighting all the good fight in Detroit all those years, and then him getting his chance in LA to get a ring. So, don't want to take away from that. But yeah, one of those guys that is a homegrown guy with that team, that's that are these faces of this league. Right? Lamar and
Yeah.
Joe Burrow and Josh Allen. They're right there with Patrick Mahomes as far as being, the faces of this league and the things that they do. I mean, you have them, I think, all in the Hall of Fame,
And this is
pretty much.
this is sort of the Jordan thing. Like, sometimes there's just a great person in your way. And Mahomes is that great person right now. Brady was that great person, for a while. And so sometimes not everybody gets one. And that's what's unfortunate. Stockton and Malone didn't get it. Sean Kemp and Peyton,
The
Clyde Drexler,
Knicks teams, yeah, Patrick Ewing,
teams,
yeah.
just the Pacers teams, So not everybody gets it.
Yeah.
But we have to appreciate the greatness while we have it in front of our eyes. And I think we're not doing a good enough job to appreciate the Mahomes greatness. We want to minimize it because we want all these other guys to get it, but yet we still have something in front of our eyes that is pretty gosh darn awesome. Mahomes still pulls some crap out of his ass that is amazing to watch. And let's be there present for it.
Yeah, I mean, who had on their bingo card that Sam Darnold would make the Pro Bowl and Patrick Mahomes wouldn't?
Yeah.
Nobody had that on the big Mahomes, but Patrick Mahomes doesn't care. He wins that third Super Bowl in a row. Brady never did it. Montana never did it. Bradshaw never did it. He'd
Yeah.
be the only one to do that.
Yeah.
That I think that puts him right up there with Brady. That now that becomes an argument. Is this guy gonna, be that maybe considered the greatest ever? I don't know if he could catch Brady. To get 7,
Well,
that's a uphill battle.
it'd be a darn quick start, man. I mean, that's a quick start because Brady had 3 and then essentially had a
10 years without.
10-year waiting list, for it, if
Yeah.
not for Eli,
But he played in what, like 10?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's also that too.
Yeah.
And I mean, people can't just. I hate when people say like, "Well, Montana never lost one." So what? When he lost the NFC Championship game, that's
That didn't
worse
count.
than not getting a Super Bowl berth. I mean, we got to
Yeah.
stop, Brandon. We got to stop the bullshit of there's 32 or 31 losers and one winner. Yes, we know there's one Super Bowl winner. Those Buffalo teams from the 90s should be celebrated. They absolutely should be celebrated. It's not a second place trophy or I mean not a participation trophy or anything. These were teams that achieved a lot.
Yeah.
All right, and it just it comes down to one game at the end of the year, and the best team doesn't always win. The best team on that day wins.
But see,
Usually,
what we've grown up to, and
yeah,
what we think is different than 90% of people on social media, and so
right.
we could talk about it, until the cows come home. But yeah, I mean, it really, the whole thing about Elway was a thing. He was 0-3, and then he gets TD and Shanahan, and then all so.
And remember, the NFC was so dominant back then when Elway was losing those Super Bowls.
Yep.
People forget how there wasn't parity in the
Yep.
league. The
But everybody
NFC,
crapped on Elway, and
yeah,
like it should again to your point, it should be celebrated that he got there with lesser teams early in his career.
yeah.
But it wasn't. It was sort of he was kind of dinged for it.
It's like, yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, we're calling him the loser, right? Where he sent the Browns home a couple times,
Mhm.
and then but Elway gets the Super Bowl, and you're the ultimate loser. So yeah, it's you lose a championship. It's almost like um, we create this false narrative that it's like worse. It's worse. It's better to not get there at all
Essentially,
than to get
yes.
there.
'Cause,
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
yeah, I mean, they did lose 55-10, and I mean, so that sucks. But
yeah.
he's still there. It still is an accomplishment. There's only been a handful when you really think about it. Now we're at what 57? Is this 57th Super Bowl?
I think it's 58, right?
Is it 58 this year? So in the history of America, we only got 58 of these things. So
Yeah,
Elway, when you really break it down, that it's a pretty remarkable achievement. But
yeah.
I am rooting, obviously, the same. We're both rooting for the same thing, and I know it's going to go the other way.
59. I'm sorry.
Huh?
Super Bowl 59.
Gosh, man, where did
I know we can't even keep up anymore. I
good
used to be able
grief?
to tell you the score of every game, the
Yeah,
MVP, all that. I can't do
yeah,
that anymore.
good grief.
Um, yeah, but let's get back to the matchup between Buffalo and Kansas City. What are your thoughts? I'm giving Buffalo a slight edge here, and it's I mean the margin for error for Buffalo is going to be very slim because you know the Chiefs are able to work with whatever you give them, right? They will take advantage of it. We saw last week against Houston, people were calling rigged, or they did the rigged BS again
Mhm.
because they would say, well, they outgained them by 100 yards. They didn't turn the ball over, and they're the only team to lose in the playoffs that's done that. But they forgot to look at the 8 sacks
Mhm.
and I know one of the penalties is BS, which is one, but let's just include in this argument 8 penalties for 82 yards. I mean, that's a lot of yards lost, 8 sacks and 82 yards in penalties. When you combine that, that made a huge difference.
The Chiefs have been playing this way now for 2 years.
Yeah,
They are just fine if it's 3-3 going in the last 3 minutes of the fourth quarter. They would be just fine with that ball game if Mahomes has the ball. So I really believe that um, Superman Josh is going to have that cape on, and he's going to have to be yeah. Um, I have this really with 2 points. Vegas sort of always tells us what they think is going to happen. It's only -2, Kansas City at home. You could really take away about 1.2 at this point. There's home field advantage has diminished over the years. It's literally a 1 point game, and at 1 point game in Kansas City in this moment when they've already shown that they can do it time and time again. I really think Kansas City is going to go to another Super Bowl. As much as I want Josh and the Bills, I just have a feeling there's going to be a major, major heartbreak moment somewhere tomorrow within the last 8 minutes of the fourth quarter. Whether it's Josh throwing a pick, whether it's some strip sack, whether it's James Cook having some goofy fumble or something, there's going to be some major meltdown moment, and Kansas City's just going to go to another one.
all right. I'm holding out hope for the Bills. I'm gonna believe here. I just think it's just Josh Allen's time, and I'm going with that. And I don't think you can save your BS conspiracy theories that the NFL wants Taylor Swift in the Super Bowl. She can go anyway with a ticket. She
Mhm.
and Kelsey can go sit in a box and watch, and that'll be just fine. I think the league would love for Josh Allen to be on that stage and have so then he's right up there with Mahomes now. You have your again, like we said, modern day Brady Manning. So I don't buy that at all, and I think just what kind of energy would be in that building in the Superdome.
Goodness.
If it's the Bills and the Commanders, um, two fan base
Thirsty fan bases.
thirsty fan bases, 30 years removed from ever being in that game,
Mhm.
to be there. Yeah, that would just be so exciting. You'd have obviously the nation's capital, the DMV area, and then smaller market Buffalo. Yeah,
I mean, that's my wish too. I just, I really think Washington can get there. I believe Washington can get there outright. Just, I think they can outplay Philly.
oh, it's
But,
possible. It's possible.
I think if um, Kansas City plays their best game, Buffalo plays their best game, I think Kansas City is just going to sneak this thing out, and it's going to be even if only, both teams have one turnover, Kansas City can afford a turnover early. Buffalo cannot, and Buffalo will not turn the ball over early, but they will turn the ball over late, and it's going to be a debilitating thing. I don't know why. I don't want to feel this way. I really don't. I really don't. I want the best, but something tells me. And where do you think Goodell's going to be? Is it going to be at the Buffalo game? Is it going to be in Philly? I'm not trying to bring out conspiracy Brandon right now, but Goodell's going to be at one of the games.
I would think if it was in Washington, he'd be there because I think he's got some ties to DC with
Yeah,
his
he
dad
does.
being
Yep.
a former politician.
Yep.
But I would say he would be at the
He'll
one
be
with it with the his two marquee quarterbacks.
he'll be in Kansas City. Yep.
Yeah, that would make sense. But if it was in Washington, I could see there being a chance he would be there.
If he's in the press box with old Swift, oh boy, let's watch out.
Right,
By the
because
way,
then
I didn't
people's
look,
wheels will be spinning.
and I didn't look. I didn't look at who the ref's going to be. Hopefully, it's not Brad Allen. Oh my God, I hope it's not Brad Allen.
Well, here I'm gonna look it up right now.
And even Hockley's son's been getting on. Sean Hockley's been getting on my nerves. So
Sure.
I hope it's not one of those two guys. Brad Allen has some sort of a hard on for the Chiefs. He loves them. If he gets that game, then there is something to be said about what my
Cleet Blakeman.
thank God. Right, right,
Yeah.
right. Whew, all right, that's good. So yeah,
So
I'm gonna park my ass in a bar stool for about four
and
hours tomorrow, and then be at home for the rest of it. And I'm excited that tomorrow. The championship Sunday has historically been my favorite day of the year.
me
It's
too. Me
my
too.
favorite day of the year.
Me too. It's just so the joy of the Super Bowl berth
Hmm.
and the agony of we were so close
Hmm.
and we got to start all over. And
Yep.
it's just such high drama. I love absolutely everything about it. So here I do want to touch on this. So Cleet Blakeman's crew refereed one Bills game in the regular season and zero Chiefs games. All
Okay.
right, so
Yeah.
they're the perfect crew for that. In Week 17, between Buffalo and the Jets, there were 23 penalties, including 7 on the Bills. Okay, so they did.
Yeah.
uh, yeah, so I think they got this right here.
There's something. There's something. I love that you looked it up that fast. That's great.
Yeah, yeah, nope, gotta love the internet. Okay, so anything in particular stick out to you about this season? I think there was a lot of great stories, but was there anything in particular that uh,
I don't want to be negative. I mean, but I think every single year I get a little bit more jaded by the scheduling, by the that we have to pay a subscription for another so and so company or this and that. And I think that all I ever ask the NFL for is, can we please get 6 games at 1 o'clock and 6 games at 4:25? Can we spread it out a little bit? And yeah, I know there's the West Coast teams, but Like, there's got to be a better way. And God, dude, if I lived on the West Coast, I'd be sick every week having to watch games. I'm going to watch 9, 10 games at 1 o'clock. I mean, 10 o'clock in the morning, and they only get 2 or 3 at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Now, sure, when the night game comes along, you can watch that and still have the rest of your night available. But my dude, I'm so sick of the NFL with like I just want better scheduling, and
Yeah.
I get I get so sick of terrible Thursday night games because I want them to start Thursday night games on like week 3 or 4, where teams can have a bye week. When you start the bye weeks, to me, that's when Thursday night should. Then the two bye teams have the next Thursday night.
That makes
And then
sense.
they started this Thursday night thing years ago, Mike. I know you remember this, and they kept saying that every team's only going to have one Thursday night game. You know who got screwed the most on the schedule this year? If you really think about it, who had the worst scheduling this year was the Chiefs. When you
Yeah, yeah,
and
you're right.
yet they're still in this position. Yet they still technically just lost one game. Forget about that Denver game last week of the
Right,
season.
that doesn't count.
They lost one game this year with probably the worst schedule in the history of football. And I'm not trying to be like crazy, like Trump. Everything's the biggest and the worst. No, I'm saying this was probably some of the worst scheduling I've ever seen. Yet they still somehow came through and lost one damn game. They had to
Yeah,
play a Saturday. They had to play a Sunday. It was a Sunday, then a Saturday, and then a Wednesday.
the
And
Wednesday thing was that's just greedy, and
it was 11. It was 3 games. Them in Baltimore and Houston, and
Pittsburgh.
all 4 of those teams had to play 3 games in 11 days. It
Yeah,
was crazy.
yeah, and that's the thing is the gluttony of Goodell and these owners that fans are trying to watch consume as much football as they can. I know I try to, you try to, and it's annoying that you can't just have a one-stop shop. Okay, I pay this uh subscription, I get everything. No, we got to get money from
Mhm.
NBC, and we got to get money from Prime, and we got to get money from Fox, and we got to get money from Netflix. It's just it's absolutely ridiculous. So yeah, that's no, good point on all of that.
And I wasn't trying to end it negatively, and
No,
I'm sorry, but
no. I mean, the kickoff thing, I think it worked for returns, but
Mhm.
I don't like the onside kick where you can only do it in the fourth and you only get 2 cracks at it or
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah,
That's dumb. You should be able to onside. There's
yeah.
no more surprise onside. Um, and the percentage, even though we saw, it does hit a few times, the percentages are just too ridiculously low. And then I don't like the rule of okay, you get a fourth and 20, a random fourth and 20. It's just I am a little bit of a football purist, and I was against the extra point being moved back, and I think that I've come
I like
to
it now.
actually I like it now. So, and I did like that you can kick off the way we saw more kickoff returns this year. So I do like. I don't necessarily like the way it looks, but at least you got some more returns this year, and it wasn't always a dead play. Um,
And I know we're running close on time, but the only other gripe I have is replay assist. I think they use replay assist when they want to. If it was consistent, then great. It's a great concept. They just there's times when I'm like replay assist should suggest that it goes one way or the other, and then no, now it's in a 90-year-old ref's hands. And then another time replay assist comes through and it just works magically perfectly.
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. This is too great of a product. It's too popular of a product to still have inconsistencies.
Yeah, I mean they can say we're too big to fail all they want,
Mhm.
but eventually it's going to come back to bite them in the ass. I
Mhm.
mean, The league is the shield's not bulletproof.
Mhm.
It really isn't. I mean, I remember when people they were putting Dennis Miller on Monday Night Football because they could not get ratings because people were tuning into WWF and
Yeah.
WCW in the Monday Night Wars, and they would never admit, yeah, we're losing that 17 to 34 male demographic
Yeah.
to professional wrestling. They never admitted to that. Um, but they saw that some of the star quarterbacks were aging out, and that also too, I think, was one move they made was to make sure the game is so centered around the quarterback, especially when they got their Brady and they got their Manning and they had this top of guys coming in after the Marino and Aikmans and Youngs were
Well,
faded
yeah.
out. And I know I'm kind of really going back, but I'm just kind of trying to make the point is. Um, yeah, you could say it feels like it's too big to fail, uh, but sooner or later it's going to catch up with you.
We'll never not love this enterprise, but I will always have a couple gripes every single year. But I'm telling you, buddy, this has been a long time for us, man. It's closing on 20 years, I think, now that we've been doing this. We've been hanging out, talking, and so I got to tell you, I appreciate you so much. Got nothing but love for you, man.
Love you too, brother, and I hope we're doing this 20 years from now.
Let's go. Let's keep it going, man. So Bills, Washington, huh?
That's what we're hoping for. Probably going to see Philadelphia, Kansas City,
Yeah.
right?
Hey, cheers to another football season, man. Wow, what it flew by.
It really did. It really did. All right, brother.
Let's enjoy
Take
tomorrow.
care. Take care. We'll do this again soon.
See you, buddy.